Welcome to the High Impact Man podcast. High impact men from across the nation sharing their stories of inspiration, encouragement, and hope.
Gosh, seek transformational relationships.
That what you're hearing from the culture is not right. Pick up the six, you know what I mean? But you never know who your six sometimes is.
Stop being less.
To help others become the virtuous leaders they're called to be and that our nation desperately needs.
Welcome to another episode of the High Impact Man podcast. It is our pleasure to bring high impact men on to tell their stories in order to motivate, inspire, and encourage other men out there to be virtuous leaders. My name is Nevin Gorky. The men of F3 know me as DFib. Troy Klinger is my co-host. You guys know him as Dial-Up. And we're bringing you Headgear. Okay, now Headgear, Charlie Soto, he was recommended by a PAX member of ours that moved to Myrtle Beach, retired to Myrtle Beach with his M, left the F3 Susquehanna Valley region and is posting with those guys down there. And he sent us some recommendations, and he recommended Headgear. He said, hey, you guys got to interview Headgear. Now, we tried to interview Headgear last week. About 10 minutes in, he lost his internet. So that's all fixed up now. So we got him back. We're recording again. And our man Porky's is coming back up for the holidays with his family, so we should see him tomorrow morning. So Porky's, I know you're going to hear this. You better have shown up for at the clinic for our Wednesday morning beatdown. It's our 30 for 30 discussion time, so 30-minute beatdown. And tomorrow's Q source topic is accountability. And oddly enough, Dial-Up, I remember that I had this very same topic at the clinic last year.
Oh, really?
Accountability. Yeah, I remember because at the end we were talking about it, and we're talking about having a
accountability partner.
Yeah, and that's when Jiggy stepped up. He said, "I'll be the first guy." He jumps in the middle of the circle and he says, "I need an accountability partner." And Barbarino said, "I'll do it." So only because of that do I remember.
Is that something you guys do just once a year, or is that an ongoing?
So what we do is every
30
week,
minutes of discussion.
We do that on Wednesdays. So the Q could throw out questions and do things at the end of any beatdown. And I do that sometimes, but it's not as long. And we stole this from the guys out at Katy, Texas. They call it for 30 for 30, so a 30-minute beatdown followed by 30 minutes of discussion. It never really ends up being like 30 minutes of discussion. It ends up being like 15 or 20 minutes.
15 or 20,
including all the closing activities, but because guys have to get to work. But anyway, what we do is every week we go through one of the points from the Q source, and it gets you through a whole year. And so in January, we'll be starting fresh again with the Get Right section. And anyway, this week's focus is on accountability, and I'll probably be leading a partner beatdown because of that.
Yeah.
So just
it's really been a good format too. Like if you look at our statistics, I mean, Wednesdays anymore is almost, we almost get as many guys posting on Wednesdays for that 30 for 30 format as we do on Saturdays, which used to be our kind of a big numbers day. So guys have really embraced it. I think they enjoy two things. The 30-minute beatdown, it forces the Qs to really be on top of their game, because it's like, boom, time to go, 30 minutes, let's go, and like get after it hard for 30 minutes. And then the 30-minute discussion is just a great time for guys to share and just kind of bounce ideas and bounce feelings and life experiences and different aspects of leadership off each other. And so it's been really well received. So glad we did that. Thanks for glad we had Katie share that with us, and we were able to take it on.
Yeah, Camo told us about that when we had him on. So anyway, that's what we do. We should ask the guys tomorrow, like, why are you come Wednesdays? Because some of the guys, we could say, hey, well, you come Wednesdays, but we don't see you, on Saturdays or whatever. We should say, what's the deal? What's so attractive about Wednesdays? But anyway, we're going to do that. And one of the squads, we've broken our packs up into 4 different squads. And one of our squads is the Fornicolas, funny enough, named after Porky's wrestling coach in college, which had the exercise he calls Fornicolas, and they call their because Porky's was the first squad leader there. But anyway, they're having a cafeteria on site. They're providing coffee for everybody. So who knows what else they'll provide? I'm providing the pain and the question. they're providing the coffee. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Headgear, welcome back. I know we've talked already a little bit, so we're going to forego the usual game that Dial Up and I play, which is guess how our F3 guest got his F3 name, because we already know. I guess we'll just let you tell everybody now. So why don't you tell us your age, your name, age, F3 name, give us a little name-orama, and then you can tell us your F3 origin story.
All right, yeah, sounds good. My name's Charlie Soto, 45, Headgear. Headgear. So you got that from my wrestling background, like Porky's. Every time I think of Headgear, when they say the name, and when they were naming me, I didn't know much, right? And I was thinking, why not Takedown? Can I be Takedown or something cool? And I think of Will Ferrell running around in one of his movies with the headgear, acting silly, or they always make fun of the wrestlers, right? So yeah,
it's just too easy with the outfits you all wear, and all that's just too easy.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
There was
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we had another guy, a wrestler that joined our pack that doesn't come anymore, but we named him Spladle.
Oh yeah, that's not too bad. I like Spladle. Yeah, if you understand what it's nobody wants to get spladled, but it's kind of cool to be the guy that's doing it. Anyway, I was I showed up to a Go Ruck tactical event, a firearms event. I was actually kind of nervous to show up to that. I didn't have a lot of firearms experience. Met two guys there from F3, Dunphy out of Lake Murray, or Lexington. He's out of Lexington, South Carolina. And then Flanders out of Lake Murray. Dunphy was wearing his F3 shirt. The cadre they were talking F3. They'd seen F3 before within the Go Ruck events. And anyways, we got talking, and it turns out that he was one of the guys that came to Myrtle Beach that helped kick off the mothership here, Warthog, which was our first AO in Myrtle Beach. And I was telling him where I lived. He said, you could walk there. All right. I said, really? It's that close? And looked up F3 on the way home. And I feel like I used to tell a story that I showed up right away, like the next day. Right? I think I look back at the calendar, it was about 2 weeks. It took me a couple of weeks to show up. And I really liked it. I got there, and it reminded me a lot more high school than college, but my high school wrestling days. I remember being out leading workouts out in front of the school before the season started. And it just had that kind of feel to it, a little bit of camaraderie and running up over the one hill we got in Myrtle Beach, doing push-ups and whatever else, burpees. So it was just fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Were you in pretty good condition when you showed up? Were you fit, or did it hurt?
That's a good question. I don't know how great. I was in okay shape. I was at a point probably where I was a little bit heavier than I had normally been. But prior to that, so this was, I think, 2018. I graduated college. I was an athlete in high school and college, and that was I graduated in 2002, and I felt like that wasn't that far away, right? Like I still felt like I was still pretty young, and so a few years out of that, I was running marathons on my own. I did a Spartan race or two. I was running around the neighborhood doing burpees and running, but it was hard to keep that up. Small injuries here and there, and trying to come back from that was real difficult. And I started gaining a little bit of weight, so I was probably at my heavier end. And so I wasn't in great shape. I was in okay shape.
All right. Now, one thing I want to mention to everybody that's listening out there is if you listen to us consistently, you'll know that this is the first F3 guy we've had on in 3 episodes. So the prior 2 episodes were not F3 guys. And 2 episodes ago, we had Dr. Marty McCary on talking about his new book, Blind Spots. And it wasn't at that time, but about a week later, a week and a half later, or whatever it was, he got named as the head of the FDA by Trump after Trump won the election. So he's now the head of the FDA. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. I think it was a really good episode. I wish we had more time with him. But you can imagine a guy like that. He's a surgeon, and he's doing all this other stuff, and he's promoting his book. And who knows? Maybe he was already contacted at that point. He just couldn't share it with us. But
he was keeping
didn't
top
have a lot of
secrets
time
from us. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't have a lot of time with him.
That's
we only
great.
had half an hour.
I listened to that episode. I went back and listened to that, and I bought his book on Audible. So I've listened to probably about half hour of maybe an hour of his book. It's great. It talks the cognitive dissonance and like that group think.
Right.
Yeah, that was a great episode. So yeah, if you haven't heard it, I'd definitely go back and listen.
Yeah, thanks for that plug, man. And thanks, I recommend the book, obviously. But the guy that our episode that's currently airing, Paul Berg, he was recommended by Red Baron, and he. So when you guys listen to this, it will be last week's episode. He's a 35-year diplomat in the foreign services, served in many countries. In diplomacy and in the embassies and things like that. And he was a fantastic guy to talk to. Man, was he engaging and entertaining, and with a lot of experiences and some real neat insights. But one of the things, disclaimer, I don't know if we're going to be able to fix it, but the last 5 minutes of the episode, we lost his audio. We didn't know it at the time, but right now, when you listen to it, for the last 5 minutes, it's going to sound pretty stupid because you're going to hear me in dial-up going, and not hearing him at all. So we're still working out the kinks and bugs here with our new system. But anyway, now we got an F3 guy on. So all you guys F3 men out there, you could relate to what Headgear's done and gone through. And what year was that? Did you say what year you joined F3?
It was 2018, I believe. It was 2018. Yeah.
Okay. So about 6 years now. So we'll come back to that because I know you've served in different leadership roles, including Nantan down there, which we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But this is your chance to tell your story. So tell us, I know you grew up in El Paso. Tell us what life was like there.
Yeah. So, I think, like I say, I had a great childhood. Growing up there was great. I had two brothers, 60 plus first cousins. Holidays were awesome. Going to church with other cousins and family members was great. High school, heck, we had a big high school. El Paso is actually bigger than most people probably think. I think we had over 20 high schools when I was there. It was 600,000 plus people at the time. There's probably 700 plus now. Next to the city in Mexico, Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, across the river. I had 2 million people at the time, Las Cruces, New Mexico. We all butted up against each other. So there's a lot of people out there. And so even though my high school had 2,700 people, I had cousins. When I was a freshman, I had 3 cousins that were cheerleaders, sophomore, junior, senior. So they watched out for me as they went up. Then my cousin, their brother, he wrestled with us. So he was about 2 years younger than me. And then my younger brother came in right after him. So we always had at least us coming through the same high school. And so that was kind of neat. But yeah, it was a great time. It was one of those places, though. I remember I had asthma as a kid growing up. I had real bad allergies and asthma. So I was at the doctor all the time. Yeah, just like the movies with the wrestlers, right? You always had to take the inhaler. Yeah. Yeah, that was me. So, my allergist, he was great. Like, they really, I love the guy. He really, I think did a lot of good for me that I was able to participate in sports. But I remember him saying something one time. It was, you have certain things in childhood that you remember. And basically, I was allergic to everything in El Paso, right? So it came to, when I had a chance to get out, I did. I love all my people there in El Paso, but it was I had to make that move, and I'm glad I did.
And all right, so did you go from El Paso to Edinburgh there when you went to college then, or did you?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I got. We never had any Texas at the time. The wrestling wasn't like we didn't have multiple divisions, so we had one big tournament for everybody in the state. But we weren't a big, strong powerhouse like a Pennsylvania. Obviously Pennsylvania's the best wrestlers, right?
Absolutely.
So Porky's tells us.
So
there's no doubt about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wasn't talking to a lot of schools. I wanted to go to Arizona State. Really didn't talk to them too much. Oklahoma had recruited me. I was ready to go out there. Get a call from Coach Flynn, Tim Flynn, out of Edinburgh, and actually, I met him at High School Nationals. So even when I met him, I said, "Where's Edinburgh?" I didn't realize they had just placed like 7th in the country or 6th or something. Yeah. Bruce Baumgartner, which is this national, is a 4-time Olympic medalist, was the head coach at the time. But when he called me, I was a little surprised, and I said, "I'll take a trip. I want to come see it." And it turns out the other assistant at the time was Lou Roselli, who had just been in the '96 Olympics, one of the lightweights. And Oklahoma had these 2 powerhouse guys in my weight class and the weight class above, these twin brothers that were sophomores, and they were recruiting a blue chip guy for my weight class at Edinburgh, but I had a shot, so I took the trip and went to Edinburgh. It seemed like it was like a competition between me and a good friend of mine. He was going to go play baseball. Like, how far can we get away from El Paso? And so I went to Edinburgh and I won.
So you visited Edinburgh and you weren't like, wow, this place is in the middle of nowhere.
Right?
No. So we got out there and it was June and it was green. It was awesome. I said, wow, everything's so green. Like you guys have trees and and then they had one of the wrestlers took me out, Rafael Vega, and we had a good time. But we asked coach talking about the weather. He said, yeah, it snows. We get a bunch of snow and then it melts and. So okay, cool. And then I get there, and October 1st, we're out on the track, and it's snowing, and it didn't stop till maybe 2 or 3 weeks after spring break, after Easter.
Yeah, it's not green here anymore in Pennsylvania. I mean, the grass is still green, but the trees don't have any leaves. Well, the evergreens do, but most of the mountainsides and everything are barren. It's the way it goes, man. We get about 4 or 5 months of pretty, really beautiful area in central Pennsylvania, and about 4 or 5 months of, everything's dormant. That's the way
summers
it goes.
Are great though. Yeah, the summers are great.
Yeah, and so Edinburgh, for people that don't know, they're Division I in wrestling. So obviously Oklahoma was too. So you must have been really good coming out of high school.
Yeah. I had a good high school wrestling career. So, I won state as a sophomore, and then I lost to a guy in the finals as a junior, and then my senior year I lost to the same guy in the semis and came up third. But we had a strong team. We really had an overall strong team where we were set. My senior year, I was really excited about it. We were set to go to a tournament in Reno, Nevada. It was a top 25 teams in the country, and we weren't top 25, but we got an invite. And turns out that we got to Vegas, and Reno was flooded. There's 4 feet of water at the airport. So we flew to Vegas for our connection. We had one of our coaches, volunteer assistants. He got on the phone. He was talking to Southwest Airlines. He's talking to coach. Coaches made a decision that we weren't even going to try to get to Reno. We hopped on a plane. They got us into a tournament in San Antonio. So we were one of those teams that we were good enough to at least try to compete against the best. But we were disappointed that we didn't get a chance at that tournament. But so anyway, we had a few of us in my weight class my senior year from across the state that went out and wrestled at different places. So one guy went out to Princeton, one guy went to Brown, another guy at a different weight class went to Penn. So it was kind of neat. It was kind of the beginning of maybe more college wrestlers coming out of Texas.
Bo Nickel came out of Texas.
Yeah. Now Texas is great because it's Bo Nickel. Once he came out, we got some respect after that.
Yeah. All right. So how'd you do in Edinburgh?
I wrestled there all 5 years. So I took my redshirt year, and I put everything into it that I thought I could. And I didn't hit the goals I wanted. I got there day one. I said, and then when you're in a room like that Edinburgh room at a time, like I said, the year before I got there, they either placed 6th or 7th in the country. You have 2 Olympians as coaches. You got guys. We had a guy that was just in the national finals still in the room with us, and blue chip athletes, and a bunch of Pennsylvania wrestlers, New York wrestlers, Ohio, New Jersey. And you're in a room like that, and the only goal is I'm going to be a national champion or All-American, right? And so that's the mindset. And you wake up, and you go to the practices. Lou Roselli, an awesome coach. Tim Flynn, awesome coach. These guys, and they're both lighter weights, so I got to wrestle with them a lot. But they'd meet us, we'd call them up, or ask them, "You meet me 30 minutes before the early morning lift or whatever." And 30 minutes before practice, 30 minutes before lift, extra drilling. So it got a lot better coming out of Texas, becoming a Division I wrestler, but I never hit the goals I wanted to hit. So I never made it to nationals, never did those things. So coming out of there, I felt like, I didn't have that full closure of being able to complete that career the way I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, you're carrying it on. You're a volunteer wrestling coach now, right?
Yeah. So one of the things in high school that was big, growing up in El Paso, Fort Bliss was right there. So Fort Bliss is a pretty big Army base.
Mhm.
So we'd have guys that would come in the room. Often guys that were stationed there. So we had a guy from Ohio and a guy from Pennsylvania that would come in a lot. And remember Ranger Rob, Army Ranger from Ohio. He had got hurt, so he didn't get his wrestling scholarship, and he became an Army Ranger. And so getting to be around those guys, and then Coach Mesa. This guy was an assistant U.S. attorney in El Paso, Wrestle College in Illinois, and he would come and spend a lot of time with us, travel with us to all these tournaments. So it felt like I had to give back. And right out of college, I actually tried to do that. Moved around a lot after college, but went to Dallas, Texas for my first job. And right around the corner was a high school that was our basically they were our rival when it came to the state dual tournament. We met them 3 times, 3 different years, and lost them every year in the state finals. The state semis once, state finals twice, and so I showed up to that room for a couple of weeks, and they had a different coach. It wasn't. I didn't stick with it. I was still too young, probably. And when I came to Myrtle Beach, I found some rooms where I really got to stick around and put some time into.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that just reminds me a little bit of the fourth quadrant we're in. Leave Right in the Q Source book in our region that we talked about. We're going through the Q Source every year, and leaving a legacy and talking about legacies and carrying it on. Dial Up, you want to share with everybody what you shared about your cross country coach in high school?
Yeah, it wasn't a coach, but a mentor. But I'd shared with the PAX and at actually beginning of this podcast last week before we lost it. Just recently, a guy that was a really big mentor of mine passed away and had Parkinson's and had cancer. But anyway, the key thing is like growing up, I would see this guy running down the valley all the time, no matter what the weather was, and I was always intrigued as a younger runner, and I'm like, who is this guy? And like, why is he out there putting all these miles in and like all this ridiculous weather? Anyway, came to find out that his mom was my bus driver, and his son and daughter were classmates of mine. One was a year older and one was a year younger. So ultimately, between all of those 3 connections, and I ultimately got to know who he was. George was his name, George Myers, and started just to kind of pick his brain, ask him lots of questions about his training and why he always was running. And lo and behold, I find out that most of his miles he's putting in was to go to the Boston Marathon. That was a big thing. And he'd conquered some demons of alcohol and other issues prior to this in life. But anyway, he got hooked on marathoning, and like I started hearing these stories of the Boston Marathon, and I was hooked. And ultimately, as a senior in high school, one of my goals was like to run Boston. Like who puts that as a senior in high school to have something like that, right? But like I was all in. And anyway, he just ended up being just such a huge mentor of mine. We just spent a lot of miles on the road together training. And he just, was always just a guy that was encouraging, supportive, just, just pouring out words of wisdom and guidance, not only for running, but just life in general. Was a bit of a father figure, as well in a lot of ways. My wife and I were still dating and then ultimately got married during this time, and just kind of taught me a lot about just, being a good husband. And also just like work ethic as well, because this guy worked at basically like a steel mill type of place, and just a hardworking dude that just was always out there just grinding, and always the focus was providing for his family. And so just was a huge mentor of mine. And what really kind of ate at me a little bit is after he passed away, and just kind of reflecting, I know at the time, I would share with him and, thank him. And I think he knew how much I hope he knew how much I appreciated him, but I can't say that I really verbalized it as much as I should have. And it's one of those things, like after he passed away, it just kind of like ate at me. It's like, man, I wish I would have told him, more blunt and direct, like how much he meant to me, as a mentor. And so, I shared with our PAX that like, hey, if there's guys out there like that in your life, like don't miss the opportunity to tell them and share how much these guys have meant to you in your life, because it's something maybe they don't need to hear, but it's it's something good for guys to hear, to just be able to realize like, wow, maybe I didn't really think about it, but like I really did impact someone's life. It's good for all of us to hear it, just for encouragement. And then the other thing I shared is that, I found that like the words of wisdom that he would always share with me, I'd always try and share that in mentoring other runners that I became friends with and would train with or run with over all the years that I've been doing it. And that's the other key thing is like, I think sometimes guys take words of wisdom and guidance and support from mentors and they kind of keep it to themselves. Mm-hmm. And instead we should be giving it away, right? Like take what we gain from a mentor and share it with the next person. And that way that mentor, their legacy lives on. It doesn't go from just one generation. It just keeps getting passed from generation to generation. So that's the kind of the message that I have been thinking about and sharing with our packs since he passed away.
Good word, brother. We challenged the guys this weekend to think of somebody this week and reach out to them. So well done.
That's deep. That's think of my high school coach, right, or the guys that volunteered their time to be with us, and two of those guys aren't with us anymore. My high school coach still there, just retired. We had an opportunity a few years ago as a collective group to get wrestlers over this entire period that he had coached. He was just retiring after 30 some odd years, and we got to do a big fundraiser golf tournament for the team, and
Cool.
And just really honor him. And so I look back at my team. I talk about my teammates because, like, I look back and it doesn't. I look at these guys that are out there doing like really good work, hard work. Out of that team, we had guys go to every military academy. We got a Green Beret, we got a Navy SEAL, other guys, other EOD guys, or the Air Force. Guys that are out doing hard work right now, like protecting our borders, flying in helicopters, great pediatricians, lawyers, like all these guys out of that one team. And I think like you talk to them, like wrestling was some spark to or some part of all that, and that came from everything that we did in that wrestling room.
Yeah.
So that's big, having someone that can at least get that spark going.
And those are the successes that coaches and mentors are the most proud of, right? Not the All-American trophies, not the medals, right, and state championships or whatever they might be. It's right, seeing their guys that they coached and mentored succeed in life. That's the real win.
Yeah, man,
very nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I took that advice dial up. I got a hold of an old PA that is the reason why I'm in cardiac surgery. So
saw that today. Yeah, good job.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to do that. And I told him I'm passing on his legacy because he trained me and he went to bat for me, and I'm doing that now for lots of people over my career. So it's cool. Good word, man. Yep. All right, so Headgear, you're in Edinburgh. You've met your wife, and then you end up moving back down to Myrtle Beach to start your career in business, right?
Yeah. So we moved around. We graduated college in 2002. So 9/11 had just happened. A little less than a year prior. The economy had been kind of rough, and I ended up with a job in Dallas, and my wife followed me out there. And it was one of those times. I remember this. I don't know if you've seen. There's one movie where Jim Carrey talks kind of about the WorldCom deal. Maybe it wasn't WorldCom. It was Enron. But yeah, there was job interviews or job fairs. And there'd be a line of cars coming out of the hotel where the fair was at, down the freeway, and everyone in their suits running in there trying to get jobs. So it was a real interesting time. But so we worked in a couple different places. I had a job there in Dallas, moved me to El Paso briefly, went to Oklahoma City for a year, and then my wife and I made the decision to come to Myrtle Beach.
How'd you pick Myrtle Beach?
It was I have this mind that's kind of analytical, but kind of like, let's just do it. And so we put this map out. There was all kinds of analytics behind it, and there was, man. And and there's a place we kind of said, hey, if we could retire, where would we go?
Yeah.
And then let's figure it out. And then so we came to Myrtle Beach, and actually my first year here, I was first 6 months or 7 months, I was working in Charleston, so I was driving to Charleston every day. And then it worked out in Myrtle Beach, where I found my career that I'm doing now.
Yeah, you're handling other people's money. That's the one way to really get rich, I think.
Yeah.
That's what somebody told me once. Use other people's money.
Oh, yeah,
in a
I think they
legal,
meant,
ethical way.
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
be clear,
yeah,
everybody.
No, we got a good business, so it's worked out really well. I got a great team, Merrill, where I work, and yeah, we do help people with their money and their planning, their financial planning. Yeah.
All right, and so then you jumped in with F3 in 2018. You've held a number of leadership positions. Looks like you were an AOQ, a Weasel Shaker, and the Nantan there. What did you learn through all of that experience? I mean, that's the mission of F3 is to grow as leaders. So what did you learn through all of that?
The AOQ, I'll tell you, that came up pretty quick. Lombardi here in Myrtle Beach was the AOQ, and I started. He was doing a great job, and he'd been kind of doing it a while. So I showed up, and they're like, "Hey, look, maybe this guy will take it on." And so I did. I took that on pretty quick. I don't remember how long I was in it before I took it. And that was a lot of fun. It reminded me of I talk about high school wrestling a lot, but it reminded me of being like the high school wrestling captain. So we just had a good time with as AOQ, and then then I ended up with the opportunity. Brown Bag asked me to be his Weasel Shaker when we took on the Nantan role, and we got hit with COVID almost right off the bat there. So I got to learn a lot through that. Anytime looking back at that time period, I think a lot of us, maybe I'm the only one, but I think a lot of us look back and say maybe we would have made different decisions. Maybe we would have not just surrendered to the authority of, hey, don't get together. So we had some time off. But it was also during that time we had a chance to bid on the F3 10-year anniversary. And we put in a valiant effort on that. We lost to Wilmington, but that was a lot of fun trying. And then I think through that process, we kind of got picked to, hey, you guys, we got asked if we wanted to host the Grow Ruck. So I said, yeah, sure. We love Grow Ruck, right? Let's do it. And so we had a Grow Ruck down here with almost 100 guys. So being part of that process, the planning for that was really cool. So I guess they would have called me the host Q on that. And then I became the Nantan after Brown Bag stepped back. So part of that, everybody wants to be the Nantan until you got to be the Nantan kind of thing. Like it's a tough role. All right, we plant, grow, and serve. So we were out there trying to plant, trying to keep a growing region together. As we're expanding geographically. Some of that's difficult. We got a lot of great AOs, and the difficulty was working as one unit. But we grew. We have a good region. And the answer to everything with in those roles is you need more packs, need more FNGs. And so once you get more FNGs, you can get more leaders, and you can get more things happening, more people to take over. But that was a great experience. I enjoyed doing it. When I went into the Nantan role, I still had this thing in my head that it should be a 1-year deal. And I think Nantan should probably be 1 to 3. So I passed it off pretty quick to Quaker. But it was good. It was good. I'm glad it did. It was a good time.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. How long should somebody be Nantan? But I think it depends on dial-up. I'm interested to hear your take as well. But I think that depends on the region, because some regions are pretty small, and you may not have somebody that you think is really qualified. If say you got a region of like 20 guys, or whatever, or you just started up, you just plant the shovel flag. It's going to take a little while to build up. Or some regions who are really big, really large, then yeah, you could. I mean, the whole idea is to give other guys opportunity to lead,
right,
and preparing the next leader. But I think a year might be, in my opinion, not enough, because every guy's going to come in there, at least they should, with their own vision, right? And it's hard. I think it's hard to accomplish a whole lot in 1 year, because you're probably going to have a changeover of the SLT depending on your region. You may have a whole new first FQ, second FQ, third FQ, Weasel Shaker, blah blah, all that stuff. So to invest in those guys and then accomplish the stuff that you want to do, it probably takes more than 1 year. I would say at minimum 2 years would be my opinion, and maybe longer depending on your region. What do you think, Dial?
Yeah, I was thinking 2 to 3. Maybe the bigger regions it works better. 1 to 2 years. But yeah, I know for our region, like you said, I think 2 to 3. It just takes we're still in. I think we're still kind of in that infancy stage, right, in our region. And I think just more recently have we have we started getting like a pretty good influx of FNGs with new ideas and kind of expanding the circle of influence and contacts that we have that are now inviting more FNGs. So I think in this kind of growth phase, it's better to have a little bit of stability there. And you served for what, three years, right? I'm a little over
3 years, because we started in 2021. Well, whenever COVID hit, that's when we started. Was it 20 or 21?
Yeah, so it's about 3 years, and I'm a little over a year. And it is something I've started to think about. Like, there's a couple guys that I could see being the next hand for our region, and I've started to think about, like, you know, how do you start to groom them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the big thing is who's the next leader, and I always thought that's, you know, whether you're AOQ or Nantan or Weasel. I told all the guys in the SLT, like, that's our role. That's our other role, is to bring that next person in, whoever's ready to. That way, if someone's ready to fill that seat. Yeah. So looking back, we had a great handoff to the new leadership team, and they started off with a lot of energy, and so that's good. It's good to get that new energy, new thoughts, new people out there. But yeah, I agree with you. Looking back, especially a new region, yeah, 1 year is probably pretty short.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of unique in being such a big vacation area too. You get probably you probably compete for the most downrange packs in the course of a year as any region that's out there, I'd bet.
You know, one of the things I first noticed in F3 is I started doing some different events, being out of Myrtle Beach. I'd see these guys that I was working out with, and I started seeing the same guys, like Noonan out of East Carolina. I saw him everywhere. Like, I was doing a 50-mile ruck in Charlotte, and I saw him out there. I just started seeing him at these different events. I ran into a guy at a homeschool convention that I worked out with in Anderson, South Carolina. It was probably my first downrange workout, or I worked out with him 3 or 4 months prior. He's standing in line behind me to talk to Chris Peranto from the 9 or 13 Hours movie, the real guy that was part of the 13 Hours movie in Benghazi. We ran. Wow, like, it's just such a small world after that. And so, or like looking back, so we get a lot of guys that post down here, like Dreamliner, right? You guys had him on the show recently. Yeah. He comes down here at least once a year or so, and we got to hang out with that guy. He's great, super smart guy, and I know he has his F3 down. He ran his region really well, and I love, even when they're downrange, he and his wife both post. She posts the FIA workout, and he posts F3.
Yeah, Dreamliner was a true rocket scientist, right?
Yeah, man, he really is. Yeah, so we get a lot of downrange guys that are regular downrange guys, like, that come in over and over. So it's fun to be able to go out and do that. When I go to El Paso, they started a region out there a few years ago, so I always try to post with those guys. They've had a hard time starting up, but they're working on it. I thought I'd be able to bring in all kinds of guys I knew from El Paso, and I've brought a couple in that haven't stuck, but
they got 60
out
cousins.
there.
You get all your cousins out there, you got a whole region.
I thought they would come out, man. They you start talking to them about coming to work out at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, they disappear.
Yeah, a lot of people
always
are
take
interested.
A little siesta in the middle of the day.
Yeah, a lot of people are really interested until they hear that time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so when you work out for F3, your beatdowns, how many times do you post a weekend? Do you mix it up? Is it mostly boot camps? Is it ruck? Is it running? What is it?
Yeah, I wish you asked me this a different time in my life. I've been down about 3 or 4 days a week right now. So it's a little bit of a mix. We used to have a really strong rucking group. What happened is no one's signing up for any rucking events, so we've that group is kind of slowed down a little bit. So we still have 1 day a week on that. I really don't show up to the ruck workout as much. I have my local AO Warthog. I show up to that, the boot camps. So I usually do Thursday, Saturday, sometimes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We do we've been riding bikes a lot. We got a couple of bike workouts, so we do the Sunday morning. So I guess add that to the mix too. That's another workout. And riding bikes tomorrow with the guys. My 13-year-old son's been riding with us now, so he really enjoys it. So he's the one that's pushing me to get out there with the guys. And
nice.
We do a shield lock. So we got our shield lock crew. We work out together on Friday mornings just on our own. So we do a shield lock. Right now we're doing a Great Divorce Study from C.S. Lewis, and then we go out and eat breakfast. Yeah.
Very nice.
You guys do Is your biking is that a road bike, mountain bike?
We all ride mountain bikes, but we're normally on the road. So like tomorrow we'll ride down Ocean Boulevard to Myrtle Beach and come back on Sundays. We there's no hills in Myrtle Beach. If you guys might not know that, it's a pretty flat place.
Been there a bunch of times.
Yeah. So we ride over the bridge to get a little bit of elevation, and we usually ride to the beach, take a picture as the sun's rising, and then ride back.
You could just go pedal in the sand. That'll be hard.
Yeah, it doesn't work out the way I thought it would.
Yeah, I thought maybe you guys would get together. There's that. I haven't mountain bike there because I never have my bike with me when I go down. But the Horry County, they call it the Hulk, right? The Horry County Bike Park.
So we meet up at the Hulk on Sunday, but we ride over the bridge and down road. So my son and I go to the Hulk. So we went last night. This is the first time I rode it at night. That's things feel like they're going a lot faster when you just got a headlight on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nighttime mountain biking is a whole different experience, but fun. Everyone should try it.
It was a blast. It was a blast.
Yeah. Maybe I'll buy a mountain bike.
You should.
Yeah.
One day. All right. So, and I know you when I talked to you before we tried to record last time, were you did you just do a Spartan race with your kids?
Yeah. So we started doing some Spartan races a few years ago, and got my two youngest involved, and then my oldest, she ran one in Florida with us last year, the year before. So it's kind of a fun thing. My wife hasn't signed up yet, but the rest of us go, and we it's just fun. They all go and do something hard together same day, even though we're not running the same race. We're all covered in mud, and the kids love getting their medals and working towards their trifecta. So it's a really good time.
Oh, that's cool. Dial-Up and I did our first one this past June. So
yeah, how'd that go?
For him, really well. For me, I thought I was leaving in an ambulance. So the one up here in Pennsylvania we did, it's in the Blue Mountain Ski Resort, and the first thing you do is climb a black diamond, a little over a mile, really steep. I mean, nobody's running. I mean, Dial-Up, you might have ran a little bit, but I mean, nobody's running up that
I just
thing.
looked. It was like right off the bat, it was like 14 or 1,500 feet of elevation, just right out of the gate.
But whoever signed us up for that thing signed us up for the 1 o'clock,
that was
kickoff. It was 97 degrees out.
Yeah.
And there's no shade. I mean, it's just, exposed. And I succumbed. I had a problem with the heat, and I had heat exhaustion.
I made it
died. Through. And I did. I was cramping up everywhere. Hyponatremia. I mean, it was a rough one for old defib. But
medical background flowing through your head. You know too much about what's going on. You can't.
Well, I can't do anything about it because all they serve is water. So we finally get to the top of this black diamond, and you have to stop. I mean, I had to stop multiple times along the way to take a break. And we finally get to your first water station, but it's only water. No, they have no Gatorade or anything like that. So it's just water. And when you're sweating, then you're replacing water, you get low in sodium, and then your muscles cramp like crazy. And man, next time, taking salt tablets with me.
Well, just remember though, BCG. I think I told you this. I didn't put it out on Slack yet, but I'm going to. BCG from F3 Harrisburg reached out. They signed up. They're doing the super. That super's the 10K, right?
Yeah,
I remember the distances, right? Yeah. They signed up for the 10K. I think Saturday morning with an 8 o'clock start time. So they're going to beat the heat. So I was
looking at it because I get emails.
Are you ready to hard commit? You get to go up the ski slope and back down and then back up again.
Almost,
but it's getting way cooler.
Yeah.
Way cooler.
Almost did it today because I get emails all the time. Every day I get Spartan Race emails, and it's like a Black Friday sale and blah blah blah. So but we're far enough out, and my back is giving me enough problems that I probably need to wait till a little closer to the event to commit.
Decide. All right.
So I'm thinking maybe by April or something that I could commit. I don't care if I pay a little bit more, but
it's one of those things with my kids. It's like my kids have such a comfortable life, and I feel like they got to do something hard. So I don't know if this is the hard thing, but it's for them. I think it's a lot of fun. And I know Joe DeSanto was on your show right this year, and he has that camp for the kids. I was like, man, that looks great. I'd love to go to that myself. But I thought about sending my son there. But it looks like a good time. I love that. I love his mindset on Spartans and how he got into all that.
Yeah.
He invited us when we on the thing. He was trying to get us to go to Abu Dhabi. I think he was trying to get everybody to get to Abu Dhabi.
Oh yeah.
He the race was on him, but he didn't say he paid for the airfare and everything else. But he would forego the fee for the race. But I saw a video today, dial up of them at Abu Dhabi doing it.
Oh, did you?
And they're dragging. I don't know what they are, but these big weighted things are just dragging up this giant mountain of sand, like sand dune in the desert.
Sounds fun.
And it's really steep and it's sand, and they're just, their feet are slipping, and I'm like, wow, it's got to be hot there. So yeah. Glad I didn't do that one.
They are
anyway,
they're a great time though. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I can see why your kids love it. My son's in college, and he did it for the first time last summer and loved it. And he runs track and cross country, but he's always one he enjoys running, but like it's much better if it has like a purpose or something else that's like tied to it. And so that was like the perfect blend for him of like, run, do an obstacle. So he had a blast, and he's looking forward to doing it. He wants to compete though this time, DFib. He doesn't want to just go
with the
slow
old guys.
with us old dudes. He wants to go and see how fast he can go.
Don't blame him a bit.
Yeah.
I do want to do it. I do want to redeem myself and do a little bit better this time, because I'm trying not to run very much, because it's a long story. People listen to us know I have back issues, but so I'm not logging miles running anymore. I'm riding the Peloton and stuff. There's a hot little blonde sadist that kills me on the Peloton. Her name's Kendall. Whew. Man, could she give you a workout? Jeez. And I mean the Peloton workout. But anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a good workout. But anyway, it's not the same as running. But this thing, there wasn't a lot of running, right? I mean, it was basically get up the mountain and then obstacle.
Could have been.
Kind of trot down the mountain.
The first one's always the hardest. Now you know what to expect. You know what to train for.
Yeah, I just got to go walk up mountains.
Don't worry. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's flip the script here a little. Not flip the script, but change topics here a little bit. I know you posted in your bio, and I really want to talk about this. So first of all, you quoted C.S. Lewis, because you're talking about that you're on a journey with your faith, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that. I'm going to read the C.S. Lewis quote you put in there. C.S. Lewis said, "Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, is of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important." So obviously that quote meant a lot to you. You said you guys were studying a C.S. Lewis book in your shield lock.
Yeah.
And you're on this faith journey. So go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it. Growing up, I think, I don't know if this is the same with any mainline Protestant or but religion where it's part of your family, part of your culture. Right. So growing up Catholic, I probably didn't appreciate it enough, right? And so we go to church every Sunday. We go to church when I'm on vacation most of the time. Go through the classes in school, get confirmed. You got and everybody around me is Catholic. Right, I'm Catholic. Everybody's Catholic, mostly. Right, I grew up in El Paso. It's probably at the time maybe 85% Hispanic, probably 85-90% Catholic. It's just the way it was, and so I never had to ask any questions. Never had to learn any more other than you do these things. Go to college in Pennsylvania. Western Pennsylvania is heavily Catholic, so I actually would go to church, and just because I knew that's what I was supposed to do, right? You go out and party, and you wake up and go to church.
Get your wafer and you're clean, right?
Yeah, right. And not even understanding that enough, right? So, what I would do, and my wife, she grew up Catholic, and I know she started like she was more serious about her journey before I was, and I know she'd been praying for me. It just seems like a lot of stuff happened maybe within a short period of time where started F3. I was here in Myrtle Beach where other people might question, "Oh, you're not Christian because you're Catholic," or you're like question, when were you saved, and things like that. And I really didn't know how to answer those questions, right? So and then starting with the F3 group and being around guys that are actually serious about their faith. Not everybody is all in, right? But guys that might even have questions for me and had asked me questions, and then we got together with our shield lock and we started talking more. And so I got to a point where initially I'm like, well, I need to know more. right? I need to know more so I can answer these questions, or else, I got to justify why do I believe the things I believe, and then that turns somewhere into that C.S. Lewis quotes like a thing, heck, it's right. It's either not true and it's not important, or it's true and that's the most important thing that we got. Why would anything else be more important? And so still learning. Got down this road of a Bible in a Year podcast with Father Mike Schmidt, and we got to a point where we're in Corinthians, and St. Paul talks about the athletes. They're going to go out and you're going to beat your body down for a wreath, for a medal. Like he starts talking. Father Mike put it out. We talk about Olympic athletes, or kind of athletes I was, right? Where you're going to put everything you got into it for what? To try to win a state championship, a region tournament, try to be an All-American, or maybe you do become an All-American or a national champion. Like, but you put so much of that effort in. Well, how much effort am I putting in towards my faith? All right. So if I really believe this, if I really believe that God sent His only Son Jesus down to the world for us, He suffered and died for us. What am I doing other than just saying, "Yeah, I'm checking the box"? Right. So it's kind of led me down this path where, and I've come to this point where it's really not where I need to be, but to where I feel like there is that relationship with Jesus. There is not just that I know I got to do this, I know I got to be in church, but I want to be there in the presence of God. I want to make sure that my family is with me on this journey. And not just my children and my wife, but those around me, my parents, like everybody that's around it. Like, this is the most important thing. So when you get to that point, I think it helps you put everything else in perspective. Because like wrestling was hard. You start on a wrestling team in high school, and everybody quits, and you got 60 people when you start, and there's 30 people by the mid-season. Started a job like I have right now at Merrill, and you see people try all the way, and you're just lucky to be one of the guys that made it through initially. If I was able to do that, why can't I do this other thing? Why can't I? And then to the point where along this journey, I got introduced to this group at St. Andrew's Catholic Church that I'm part of. It's called Fraternus. And it's so similar to an F3 type of group. This is for men, age middle school and up, young men and adults. But the whole thing is be a saint. And so my thought is like, I can't be a saint. Like, I can't be a Padre Pio or a St. Paul or St. Peter or St. Francis or any of these things. I can't help me. So, but be a saint. And our definition of saint is that's how you get you want to do God's will, right? And so, yeah, I can work on that. I can be better in my everyday life and not just take this information in, but let it transform me to be more like Christ, where that's what we're called to do. So really I feel like I'm on that journey where I can take this in, I can understand, I can do, and it's not working your way to heaven. It's working to accept the grace that God has given us. All right. So that's what I feel. We've given this grace, but if I don't do anything with it, like, am I just leaving it on the shelf? And so that's where I am with it. I feel like I could just keep going. And then you're thinking about St. Paul and say, kind of persevere to the end. And that scares me because I know I've heard stories of people that have just failed somewhere along the way, and it's so hard to come back. But I see stories of like even all these great saints, right? Like Paul that persecuted Christians, and he became this great saint and great father of the church, really. And so I know people sometimes think I can't be there. I've done so much bad, and maybe whatever it is, and they don't realize that a lot of us were there. Whether it's the saints or the people standing next to you, and then you realize it's about the people around you. Let's all get there. Let's all be the men that we were made to be.
Yeah, that's good stuff, brother. I had a similar journey. I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was challenged by some guys when I came to work where I work now, not in a bad way, in a nice way. We had these discussions and stuff, and I'm like, wow, just like you, I'm like, well, I don't know how I can't defend my faith as well as I should. And I felt like I was not living up to my responsibility. And so I just decided to, the Holy Spirit got a hold of me and said, here, read this. And I just read the Bible from front to back. And and that's what I decided to base my life on. The Bible as the Word of God, and it hasn't let me down yet. That led me to a Baptist church here. So now I'm an elder at the church, and my man Dial-Up is a deacon at the same church. But yeah, similar story. I mean, we're all a work in progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's what sanctification is all about. Yeah. So, but we're sealed. We're sealed with the Holy Spirit, so we can't lose it. We can't lose salvation once we belong to Jesus. We're His. So F3, the faith stands for believing and working for something bigger than yourself. You don't have to be a Christian, but anyway, each guy can tell his story, and I think for Dial-Up and I mean that's what we live for and work for. So keep at it, man. And it's interesting. You talked about basically as standards, right? There's a certain standard that God set for us, and it's perfection. Now, why would God set a lower standard for us? That's silly. So, it says in the Bible, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. And so that's the standard. We're not going to meet it in this lifetime, maybe in eternity, but we're not going to meet it now. But that's what we have to keep striving for. And actually, Dial-Up tomorrow, one of the question I thought I was going to bring everybody in our 30 for 30, since it's about accountability, is what standard have you set for yourself, and how are you holding yourself accountable to that? I'll talk to you offline when we get done here about that a little bit more, because I need your help.
All right.
But anyway, I think that's what you're talking about, right? You're talking about standards, and that's at F3. That's what we kind of do. We kind of help each other to meet the standards that we set, and everybody gets to set his own. What are you shooting for? What's your goal? And if your goal isn't perfection, then you're going to fall much further short of that than you would if your goal was lower. And we just got to keep striving for that.
You do a lot of the GoRuck stuff. They talk about the standards, right? Because the special forces community, they always got the standard. It's up here, but nobody goes into that to do the minimum, right? We don't go into our lives to do the minimum in anything. I don't think I don't talk to people and say, "Hey, how's work going?" Well, I did the minimum today. I feel pretty good. Right? Or how's it going with your kids or your marriage or whatever? It's never the minimum. So why can't I put more than the minimum into the most important thing? And but yeah, those are the questions that start popping around. And I went through a leadership. The other part of that, I went to this leadership class to the local chamber, and it got me reading again, which was good because I decided I didn't have enough time to read. But it got me reading all kinds of books, and I was looking at all the leadership books, all the human psychology type of books, all these things I was really interested in. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, hold a second. I got to read the Bible, right? I've been going to church for all this time, and we go through 80% of the New Testament in 3 years, and a lot of the Old Testament. But I haven't just sat down and read it all, right? And so through the podcast series, it's not just cover to cover, but it's like the salvation journey through the whole Bible. It's connecting Old and New Testament. And I said, wow, this is really great, right? So that's become part of my life every day. And then the catechism too. Okay, so I'm Catholic. I've read the Bible now. What about all the teachings, right? That way I know when it doesn't matter if it's a priest or someone else that's teaching, are they right? Is that what we're supposed to be learning?
Right.
Yeah. Is that what the we believe that the teaching authority of the church was given down to St. Peter? Is this right?
Yeah.
And so it's been a great journey, man. And I feel like I'm just blessed to have grown up the way I did, even though I can't say that. I mean, I think everybody needs that kind of I don't know if it's a rebirth, but that reconversion that I got to accept this for my own. And so the guys around me, I have a lot of guys that have converted to Catholicism from other places. Those are the guys that are on fire that I look at and I say, wow, why don't I have that excitement initially, right? And so it's taken a little while, but it's still a work in progress, and it's something that I feel, and I hope it's something that my children will come to accept as their own, and have their own stories. But it's been really exciting. It's been a great journey.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Good points there, man. You're right. Like we're warned to beware of false prophets, right? And how are we going to know if we're not studying, and learning ourselves that we're going to be able to recognize it. If not, it's going to be so easy to be misled and drawn astray.
Can't tell the counterfeit unless you know the real thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right. Well, good word, brother. And of course, setting the standard like that's what we're supposed to be doing at F3 and as men and as a high impact man, which you are, you're doing that. And so way to go. I'm going to end this with 2 questions for you. If you listened to our podcast before, you probably heard them. Because we asked this of all of our guests. So the first question is, if you were to pick somebody, it could be somebody from a distant past, somebody you know now, it doesn't matter. That would be somebody you look up to, a hero, whatever. Who would that be?
I had a hard time with that. I heard you ask this one, and I think that's something that's changed. Maybe not changed, but transition. I think maybe a lot of us, right? So I think back, obviously my parents, right? I got to put them up. They taught it. My dad was a professional kickboxer. My mom was and he was a PE coach. My mom was a high school, elementary school counselor, and she taught ESL. There's so many kids she taught English to that are doing great things, and they still go and thank her. But they grew up so poor without a lot, and just to provide with us what they did. And then I think as it was go on, my high school wrestling coach really, and the people that helped out along the way, the teammates. And you think about my college coaches, and then the people around me now. So I think that's just transitioned so much to my wife now, who's set such a great example and prayed for me to keep me, from going astray. And so there's just so many there. And I couldn't even just put that on one person. But
all right,
that's fair.
No problem. All right, man. The last question is: this is your chance to speak to the men of America. What is your message for the men of America?
It's funny. Last week, I don't know if I would have said something different, but my kids had they play roller hockey. So the championship was last Friday, and my son and my youngest daughter were in the championship with their teams. And I talked to my son that morning and I said, look, just go out and play your game. If your team plays together, if you guys play as a team and you play the same game, if you get behind, keep playing the same game, put it all out there. If you're winning, keep playing, and keep your head, right? And so I thought about that later, and they played an awesome game. They did exactly that, not because I said it, but because the team just came together that day. I'm not their coach. I don't know anything about hockey. But I thought about it the next morning as I was sitting here doing my study in the morning, and I said, you know what? Like, we got to be doing that everywhere, right? Not be minimalist, but strive for it. And we got to play that same game in our lives, right? It doesn't matter if things are going great or if they're going poorly. We just got to be putting it all out there all the time in our life, in our work, in our family, and in our faith. Right? There's going to be times where things are easier than other times. But if we're always putting it all out there, we got to play the same game. And then after I thought through that, and I heard somewhere, Jesus was the same man when he was being hailed, coming on a donkey, and people laying out palms for him. He was the same man there as he was the same man being persecuted. Jesus was the same man throughout his life, and we got to be those people. But you can't be the same man if you're not striving yet. Mm-hmm. But once you start putting it all out there and you start growing in all aspects of your life, I think you just keep playing the same game. Just put it out there, leave it all out there, and become the man that God made you to be. Become the saint that he made you to be, and just go bring everybody else and bring as many people on the boat as you can.
Mm-hmm. Nice. What you're talking about is integrity. Integrity is wholeness. That's what it means, right? So having that integrity, being the same in private as you are in public, and being the same guy. And it's a good word, man. Put it out there in everything that you do. So I think, we learned today basically was some pretty cool stuff. So talking about legacy and carrying on the legacy of others, and maybe for all of you out there, listen to Dial Up, reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to or told in a long time, or maybe you never told them that how much they meant to you, and they played an important role in your life. But then pass it on, man. Carry on that legacy of whatever they taught you, and that's a good message. And the standard, right? Living up to the standard, and set your standards high. And as we will address tomorrow at the clinic, accountability. How do you make yourself held accountable for those standards that you've set? One of the standards I've set was a New Year's resolution coming to the end of the year. I wanted to be under 210 pounds by the end of the year, and I haven't gotten there yet, but Dial Up Now, we had a pizza tour on Saturday. I went in at 2:14, and Monday morning weigh-in, I was 2:18, which I do not understand, because today, 2 days later, I'm 2:15. So I lost 3 pounds in 2 days. How does that even happen? I don't even know.
It's water weight. There's a lot of water weight, man.
That's what my wife said. But I weigh myself the same time every
I will
morning.
say, though, the pizza tour, I felt like that pizza tour food sat in my gut for almost 48 hours.
Yeah, I think it did, too.
I don't know what the scoop was.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it's coming back down, fortunately. Basically, I've got a month to lose 6 pounds, so I could do it. I'm doing it.
All right. Porky should be there. Porky's is in Shamokin Dam. Well, he was in Shamokin Dam, so he should be in Danville, Pennsylvania by now. Where are they staying? I don't even know where they're staying. I don't know.
Anyway, they didn't ask to stay with me.
He did. Yeah, he did mention where he was staying. I forget where it was, but anyway.
Take care of him for us. Send him back. Yeah.
We'll send him back. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to keep him around here.
His wife will make sure of it. Giselle will make sure that he goes back. She's loving it down there. And he likes it down. He loves it down there, too. Okay, yeah. Take care of our man, Porky. So, Headgear, thank you for joining us. God bless you on your faith journey and every other journey you got here, man. Keep holding the standard, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. God bless you.
Yeah, hopefully we come down and visit you in Myrtle Beach sometime. We'll come down. We got a place to stay with Porky's, and we can post with you guys.
Yeah, give me a heads up, man. I'll make sure we set up a good beatdown for you.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I would like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their story of becoming a high-impact man. More information and resources can be found at highimpactman.com. If you like this podcast, please consider following us on our social media pages or email us at him@highimpactman.com. That is HIM@highimpactman.com. The High Impact Man podcast has a new episode every week, and you can find them on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast platforms. Have a great week, everyone.